the webinar and the communication with you. So if you have any comments or questions, she will be with me here to take them, and will be marking them so that I can address all of your questions at the end of the session. So let's start. Well, you surely know, and you surely looked at our website and you Googled what we're doing, and probably you're following us on some of the social media. But let me just say that there is a phone today, which you see on the screen. Evelina has it, and it can be, you can WhatsApp her, you can call her in case of technical problems. This webinar is being recorded and will be available later on our new YouTube channel. We have just opened a few weeks ago, NetworkThining.center. We are getting more and more excited about thinking in terms of networks and thinking what network thinking program could do for others. So let's get started. There will be a 5-step agenda. Number one, I will talk about a leadership challenge. I think there are many challenges we face today, and you know that one of the most important global events will be taking place this week in Davos, where global leaders will think about how to make this world a better place. If I were to name one single challenge that we all face, I would say it's a leadership challenge. And it is not trivial. And it is not trivial because we live in the world where every single individual, every single person has all the tools or the capacity to be a leader, to change the world around us. And while this is the case, we witness more and more disruption coming from all sides. And the problems that sometimes seem easy are not easy to solve, and problems that seem complex are being solved by pure chances. So this is why I believe we need a new method. We need a new way of thinking. And I will say why network thinking and what is network thinking, and why we would like to grow and spread our approach through Train the Trainer program. But first, I guess some of you know me in person and some of you don't. So I thought I will briefly introduce myself, and I will say about what is my DNA, what I love doing, and then, you know, what are my thinking about professional life. So I definitely am a hybrid individual with many identities. One is real. I'm physically based between Poland. I am Polish. I was born in the south of Poland in Silesia region. I live in Warsaw with my family, and I'm more and more often now in Spain, in Barcelona. I have learned Spanish. So we have opened an office here last year as Tataj Innovation. It's a very funny office, I would say. It's right on one of the most beautiful urban beaches in the world. And the idea is that it should be a creative studio, an innovation studio. And this network thinking program is actually the first, if I may say, baby being born out of this unusual creative space. But I'm also a digital human, as we all are. And I think that this is important, that we understand that we live in this dual or rather multiple identities. And to be a leader in these times is not easy. The transition to digital is not easy for different reasons, for different populations, older generation, younger generation. And I believe that understanding this dual, multiple identities that we live through in real and digital world is very important for me, but also for other people. Now, what I like doing, I really care about healthy lifestyle. I try to live as healthy as possible. I try to keep my family as healthy as possible. Very difficult, but I think it's important. I think people are too much stressed. People are too much challenged today. I think that this world could be made more simple. After all, we live through the period of history, which is definitely the best decades for many, many, many millions, or if not billions, people on this planet. And I think that we could do more for the well-being, for sustainability, for intergenerational solidarity. I do care about this. And I hope that people who will join us to work to spread network thinking will also share these values. What I do in my free time? Well, I do a lot of yoga. I love meditating, and I love moving. I love having fun. The little icons you see here, it's me in my dual personalities. Very quiet, very mindful, and then the other one a little bit crazy, a little bit on the move, and I enjoy really dancing. In terms of professional life, I'm part of a generation that was born under communist times. And, you know, people who are born in a very stable societies think differently. People who come from Poland or geographies that underwent great transformations have this sense of, I would say, of the need for being able to deal with this kind of change. I don't want to coin it, I don't want to name it, but this is important. I do believe that people can change their future. I think we cannot change the history, but we can change our small histories. And I believe that 30 years ago, Poland was one of the very poor countries in the world. Today, I'm very proud that the World Bank says we are the second most successful after South Korea in terms of speed with which we got to high-income countries. But what I really care about is that we not only got more affluent as a society, but we also have a very relative high social cohesion, meaning that there are not extreme poor and extreme rich, but that Poland is a very balanced country. I care about this. I think this balanced growth is important. And I think that access to opportunity is something that should be driving things, you know, should be driving why we're doing things. Because after all, if we're not sharing this access to opportunity, why would we want to care everything, to have everything for ourselves? So I believe that we need a new way of thinking. And because the question of value, and here you see little icon showing euro, the question of value is very different for different people. I think we need to understand that value is not only monetary, that value today can be access to opportunity, access to talent, access to education, and that for this, we need to think differently. I would say that in terms of my professional hats, I wear three hats. Number one, I am an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneur's family. Number two is that I've been working for a number of years in the policy area. Today, I'm very proud being a chairwoman of high-level advisors to European Commissioner for Research, Science and Innovation. And with my colleagues, we help Commissioner Młodaś design new innovation policies for the next Horizon Europe program, which will be one of the pillars of European growth. And then number three, I get engaged in many initiatives, some global as the World Economic Forum, some more local, like most recently Digital Future Society launched by the Barcelona Mobile Capital to help design a better world. And I like doing this. I like engaging in pro publico bono. And I think that there is something special if we can deliver beyond who we are and who we want to do on our very small everyday areas. So this is who I am. I wish you could I could see you as well. This is very strange to be speaking without seeing you, but I hope I'm not boring you to death. So now, Evelina just told me that I'm pushing the table, so sorry for that. I will try not to touch the table. So getting to the network thinking, we live in the network society. Network society was a term coined by Professor Manuel Castells. He was one of the first scholars who had access to data when internet was getting critical mass spreading across the Silicon Valley. And he was there seeing what has been, how human behavior has been changing, how values have been changing, and how people started to function differently as a society. I had been doing research with Professor Castells for a number of years, and my thinking about leadership is anchored in the theory of the network society. I do believe that this transformation to digital requires leaders to think differently. And I developed network thinking based on my research, business, and policy experience. And basically, when I think of network thinking, is a skill box all leaders need today. Now, one caveat: it is based on research, but this is not 100% scholarly, because I did not want this to be too theoretical. It is based on business because I wanted it to share my practices of a business person coming out of emerging markets, extremely successful emerging markets in terms of transforming old companies functioning in traditional industries such as banking or packaging, and seeing how they embrace this new economic opportunities. But also a person working in venture capital, in investment banking, investing in high growth enterprises, being a board member and helping and coaching, helping grow executives who were transforming the companies to the global markets. So this is scholarly enough, and this is practice-based strongly, because I believe that we need something practical. We need an easy, simple skill box that we can move things forward when we are stuck as individual executives, or if we are stuck as a team working across borders in a distributed manner, as a team that needs a different way of being maneuvering. And I would say that there are many methodologies that are being used in management today. You surely know well the design thinking, which is being used for pushing creativity. You know lean startup, which is being used for helping small companies grow using limited resources or fail fast. You know, business model canvas, that is a way to advance with calibrating the business model for the global markets, or agile, that draws on the business culture of IT companies, how to manage fast, on the go, the development process. Network thinking is a complementary tool. I have been for a number of years teaching executive MBA students, international MBA students, most of them engineers. And I also trained thousands of entrepreneurs. And I think that still there is a need for a way that could be very handy, very simple, that could be a set of skills and processes to unleash growth. So let's think about the network thinking as a skill box, not as a toolbox, but as a skill box. We have some tools that we developed to help trainers teach or help learn to the participants these skills. But basically, it's simply a bunch of skills everyone who is a leader needs today. Now, some people say, when they ask me what is network thinking, they say, oh, is it networking? And in a way, it is networking, but networking not understood as I go to a business meeting, I give you my card, you give me yours, then I go home, I put the card in the drawer, or if I'm not tired enough, I put this in my database and sometimes I follow up. No, this is not a networking in this sense. It is networking in a sense that we're all connected and we have all the capacity to connect. And some of us have a natural skill how to do it, others don't. So I'd rather say it's a strategic networking. It's having a strategy how to use this networking capacity that we all have. So, well, this is a Train the Trainer program, and we were inviting people whose job, whose responsibility is to help others grow. So it means that some of you who registered for this webinar are executives, and you have a distributed team, as I know, working across in different countries in the same function, for example, in research labs, and you're challenged how to make these disparate teams work together. Some of you are coaches and trainers, and you work with leaders, you work with companies, helping them design strategies, helping them draft business plans, helping them lead through change, helping them deal with such issues as talent retention, as client retention. So I believe that whatever your function is, when you register for this webinar, in some way you see this challenge. You see the challenge that old economies have broken down. The disruption is coming from the least expected angles. And the challenge is how to grow in such an environment. So this is my basic question: how to grow in this kind of environment. And the growth is not only about the direction and it's not only about the speed of growth, but first of all, it's about the direction. It's not about having more ideas how to grow faster, how to consume more. No, this is an idea how to grow that it makes meaning, that it simply makes sense, not to consume more, but to consume differently, to have more mindfulness in what we do and how we evolve as individuals, as teams, as organizations, or as entire cities or countries. Now, what you see on the screen in my presentation, it says Daria Tataj keynote, Innovation through Network Thinking, a growth model for mid-sized cities in the digital economy. This is an absolutely beautiful piece of visual art, which was done during my keynote this year in Barcelona during the Smart City World Congress. And basically, you know, I would not be able to explain more easily what I do. So basically, if you look at this narrative, yes, I say that there are three key resources in the economy, in the society today. They are talent, knowledge, and funding. Basically, to grow, you need talent, you need knowledge, and you need funding. And basically, they are all free more than ever. And that any growth model, by model I mean a more complex system, needs to be based on 4 pillars. That is research, which is a capacity to produce knowledge. That is innovation, which is a capacity to translate this knowledge into new solutions. Then education, for me, is the most important, is the ability to help people learn constantly so that they feel that they are catching up, or that they are shaping their reality rather than being strained, that they are totally always left behind. And then there is the entrepreneurship. Coming from the emerging markets of Central and Eastern Europe, I do believe in the power of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship for me does not only mean the small and mid-sized companies or startups or scale-ups. No, I think entrepreneurship is more about culture, and it's more about attitude, and it's more about skills. And basically, whether you're in government, at university, or in business, you can be an entrepreneur. Or if you want to start a impact fund or a foundation, you can also be an entrepreneur. So this concept of entrepreneurship for me is very, very, very much part of my DNA. I do believe that if you're smart, if you're hardworking, if you're able to judge the risks you take, if you're kind to people, the opportunities are there. And I hope that our network thinking approach can help these entrepreneurial people become more successful. But coming back to what we see on the screen. So, well, yes, I say that these 4 pillars, research, innovation, education, entrepreneurship, work in silos. This is true. You see here the caps A, B, C, D. And basically, This is true in global innovation hubs. This is true in peripheries of innovation networks. And only in very few instances, these pillars are connected into one vibrant DNA. And I would say that Barcelona surely is one of these places, because when you look at the city 30 years ago, it was not where it is today. The third city for startups in Europe, the first city elected to be the innovation capital of Europe. So I believe that this is important for this ecosystem, that they somehow managed to create the capacity to integrate, interconnect research, innovation, education, and entrepreneurship. Now, what do we see here? Well, there's a lot of ideas, and it was a fantastic interaction with the audience, and I really enjoyed. This is all recorded. It can be watched on the Fira Barcelona website. So what I think is that there is a set of skills needed to have research, innovation, education, entrepreneurs work across silos. And if they can work across silos, and if they understand that growth today is based on networks, and if they can working together solve complex problems, I think we will make the world a better place. And so let's move forward to see, whether we are on the path to do it. So why network thinking? Well, I would say that if I were to explain basically three things the network thinking can help with, I would say, well, number one, it can help people learn how to work across silos. The picture you see here is a historic picture, because this was the first time ever that we did network thinking innovation masterclass with a guest of honor, Professor Manuel Castells, and a few dozens of representatives of Catalonia's innovation ecosystem, including companies, universities, regional government, Catalan government, and city government. And we did it because we wanted to help communicate how to change a city area which spreads between Barcelona and Badalona. This is an adjacent city right to the north in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. We wanted to have a conversation why these hundreds of hectares of post-industrial land are not being developed into what Barcelona has managed to do, creating its 22 innovation district. If you've been to Barcelona, you surely know the Akbar Tower, and this is one of my favorite quarters of the city. So we gathered all these people. Some of them are with us during this webinar, and we discussed, based on our nascent, just emerging network thinking approach, how to drive change in this ecosystem. So number one, what network thinking we want you to help us develop is to work across silos. Number two is to use network thinking to unleash growth. Well, if you look at the largest companies in the world today, we all know that 25 years ago, most of them were not here. Now, there's one common denominator, or actually there are a few common denominators regarding these companies, but one is for sure, that if you look at their business model, all of their business models is based on networks. And you name it, it can be Facebook, the most obvious, but it can be also Uber, Airbnb, it can be many others that basically are not, of course they are based on technology. Everyone today, every business is based on technology, but technology is not their core asset, or at least it has not been when they were starting. But what is important is that they knew how to think in terms of networks. And the photo that you see here is a photo from a network thinking innovation retreat that we have done here in Barcelona in our Tataj Innovation Studio. So you can see our beach, you can see the sea, and I hope one day you will visit us here. So we will be thrilled to take you for a walk instead of sitting in a corporate room. It unleashes creativity. The people who are here are the alumni of the community of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and they are the EIT different communities. They asked us to sponsor their startup days in Barcelona in March, and we did it, and giving them a challenge how to transform the Badalona port area, and then inviting them for a 2-day seminar, helping with our methodology advance their ideas so that they could pitch in front of the Badalona mayor and deputy mayor and try to sell their ideas, how to transform the city. So second point two, how network thinking could be used, it's to unleash growth, to help rethink the business model. And number three is to help solve complex problems. You know, there are many problems which we're overwhelmed with. But when you step back a little bit, and I love what Evelina taught me yesterday, I said, oh my God, I have always so many things on my list to do. And she said, I've just finished. And I thought, how did she do it? And she said, well, I have my priorities. So I think that we all could learn that there are complex problems worth solving and complex problems which are not worth solving. And I think that network thinking is a way to bring people together, to build trust, to help them develop relationship, to open up creativity, to build partnerships, so that it's not only about ideas, it's even beyond the meaning. It's about a capacity to implement, capacity to act. Because I am so much convinced that everyone today is a leader, having the capacity, as we all have with access to the technology. So when we talked with business and government leaders, what is this growth challenge? They use different words. Some want to accelerate business growth, simply drive sales because of the disruption, sometimes coming from technology, sometimes coming from new business models. They cannot do business as usual. Others struggle how to lead through the transition to digital. Others think that to access markets, they need to build an ecosystem, local and global. Others have challenge with talent retention rate or customer retention rate. Others want to frame the data. They have access to enormous amounts of data, but they somehow don't know how to ask the right questions. And for this, they need an ecosystem to understand how to turn this massive data into meaningful knowledge to build further their strategy. Others simply want innovation to become the job of the entire company. And then if it is, then they want all these innovation tribes to collaborate, not to do their own thing in their own angle. Others want to become more entrepreneurial, and then more and more, everyone seeks more meaning. So this is how we look at the growth challenge. This is not only about money. This is not only about financial returns. It's much more than this. Although absolutely the right of the business is to grow to the satisfaction of their clients and to their shareholders. But we do believe that you can link these two things, that by doing the right thing, you can become successful. After all, we are all here to prototype the future. I love this statement, and failing fast prototyping your future is maybe the fastest way to success. So to sum up, why network thinking? I would say leaders today in the transition to digital need a new way of thinking because they need a new roadmap for growth in the world in transformation. So I must say that the network thinking methodology is based on my research. For a number of years, I was trying to answer the question where growth comes from in Europe, in the United States, in Asia. And the outcome was a book, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, a growth model for Europe beyond the crisis. I know that many of you know this work, but I want to make a direct connection. Network thinking is a way to popularize, to share, to spread what is in this book. And it basically presents a certain model that is not only a theoretical model, but it's model actually that has been implemented in Europe, and I will refer to it a bit later, and transformed dozens of ecosystems across European cities. Professor Castells, the winner of the Holberg Award, nicknamed the Nobel Prize in Humanities and Social Sciences, writes in the preface that this book may reshape the way we think about innovation. And network thinking is my way, is our way to translate, to bridge the world of academia, the world of research with the world of practice. So this is my way to explain and to share where innovation comes from, how to create value, and maybe what is most important, how to capture value. Now, we had a brainstorming session with a first company that has become our partner. They are called Naked Innovations, and we discussed how would we want to explain why network thinking and what network thinking does. And I believe that there are a few words which are keywords here. Number one, it's about exponential growth. And this exponential growth can happen only if you co-create networks you need and grow networks you have. Then number two, the key aspect is to attract the right people and empower them in the right way to act. And I think that the community, the power community of the innovation community is absolutely essential for this, for attracting, growing, and empowering people. This comes down to trust, comes down to identity, and comes down to culture. Then many people underestimate the wisdom of networks. The knowledge is all out there. The question is more how to access it, how to frame it, and then how to use this open innovation collaborations to create solutions and a way forward. Then the challenge of silos thinking, we mentioned before, we do need a more holistic view of the trends. We need to, again, build the ecosystem to get faster the information, to faster understand what usually foresight is not telling us anymore. And then finally, we simply need to build a better, more interconnected world. And the world that can connect from local to global, digital to offline, and bridge diverse cultures, geographies, and generations. This would be our ambition. So in one word, what is network thinking? Well, it's basically a three-step process. Number one, you need to understand as a leader innovation in networks. So it's basically about having certain knowledge, how our network society, network economy functions. I realize that more and more often it is easier for people to understand technology than other people, especially if there's a transition to digital. So what we offer a way to understand innovation in networks. Number two, we offer a methodology that people can create innovation networks. Well, this is learning by doing. So it's not about a transaction, it's about a relation. And we want manage executives or trainers or coaches who will join us to be able to assist their students, their peers, their colleagues, to be on this process of creating the networks they need and growing the networks they have. And finally, the challenge number three is about the ecosystem perspective, is the capacity to orchestrate these networks into a vibrant, high growth environment where the network effect can take place. So just a visualization. Number one, understand innovation in networks. Number 2, create networks you need and grow networks you have. And number 3, this leadership challenge, how to orchestrate the networks. So let me just briefly say in more detail what is each of the 3 modules about. The module 1 about understanding is basically about the free flows of knowledge, talent, and funding. It's about understanding what this free flow means and what risks and what opportunities it brings. It's also about the local and global innovation ecosystems, trying to answer why in certain places in these networks, in certain places, these hubs emerge. These hubs which somehow attract the best people, where investors come to fund, or budgets within corporations, and what is the dynamics behind it? And then this question of being local and global at the same time. Some people become so global that they are totally disconnected from reality. Or some people are still so local that they believe that the world ends at the end of their street. No, it's the way to balancing the 2 worlds, the digital, the real, the global and local. With the module 2, it's a lot about entrepreneurial culture. With this freedom of flows in the global economy, well, there is an upside and there is a downside to it. And you better be entrepreneurial as a company or as a leader or as a city for that matter, or as a nation, to understand that it's not about creating value. It's not about investing in resources. It's about capturing value. It's about capturing opportunity and being able to change an opportunity into impact, if you're in government, into jobs, if you're in government, or into business value, if you're in business, or into knowledge or good students, if you're part of the academia. Then this module is also about the question of openness. There's a lot of talk about open innovation, and this question of openness is pretty tricky. People often think that if something is open, it's free. It's not true, and we discussed this. Then about the value proposition. Value proposition meaning, how do I present my personal brand, my company brand? How do I present it, and what values stand behind it? Then about the stickiness of networks, why it's a whole funny module about creating your loyal followers or your loyal crowd. And then my favorite module about communication power. This is absolutely phenomenal, how each of us today can become a really influential leader through communication. So the last module is about building trust. It's about going beyond the control culture. It's about competing and collaborating, having in mind that people you collaborate with today, you may be you may need to compete tomorrow, and vice versa. It's about an identity, a digital identity, who we are, what we stand for. And then ultimately, it's about creating this whole entrepreneurial culture within the team that we're working with. This is just one of the tools that we have. You see here a little red string. I like to think about this red string as a story you surely know well, the story of Ariadne, who through a very simple solution helped Thesaurus get out of this horrifying labyrinth where Minotaur killed so many heroes before him. And Ariadne had this simple way how to have Thesaurus go into the maze and go out of the maze. And here we have just a roadmap we created. It's still in the making. It's a very new product that we're developing. But basically, we analyze the networks of our of the participants of the training. Then we go into the dynamics of networks, into certain phenomena such as multi-layering and the switching capacity, which helps connect different networks into an ecosystem. Then we practice the communication and the collaboration protocols. We talk about my value proposition, your value proposition, and their value proposition, and how to strategically reformulate this. And finally, we talk about the network power, about access to networks, about building your status in networks, and then about becoming a leader, meaning having a capacity to reprogram the networks, to change the networks to work for your benefits. So this is just one of our tools we have prepared, and this portfolio will be growing in time. What you see here is a little map that I tried to map and to organize my different networks. This is a tool that we work with participants. So we can analyze them according to very, very different angles, depending on what is a goal. We can look at geographical spread, as functional spread, as industry spread, as ambition spread, or alignment of interests. So this is just as an example, my network spreading through the world of academia, the world of business, and then different global or regional networks that I have access to. Now, you surely may ask, how do I know that this methodology would work? And I may say that I would love to gather more data as we will go, and with my academic background, I hope that the rollout of this network thinking program will be assisted by gathering data on what really works. But one example is the case study that my book refers to, that is European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And it is based on this network thinking. It is based on linking research, innovation, education, and entrepreneurship into local ecosystems, and then into a pan-European ecosystems. And the photo you see, I was invited for the 10th anniversary of the EIT this year in Budapest. And I was thrilled to see a couple of hundred alumni from the EIT Alumni Association, which really are the most, in my view, possibly high potential innovation networks in Europe. And sponsoring their startup days in Barcelona, and then working with them on the innovation retreat, they were really behind my motivation, how to design a simple tool to help people like people with PhDs, doctoral students, master students, most of them engineers, scientists, how to help them make bigger impact for Europe's future, but for the future of us all. So I would say that if there is one proof of evidence that this network thinking works, I think the students, every single student, every single entrepreneur who finished the EIT education through one of the knowledge innovation communities, and I know that some of the KICs are with us today, I think that this is proof of concept. This is proof of concept that network thinking and entrepreneurial culture really brings change. I presented my approach to, Evelina shows me that I have 15 minutes left and we still want to take questions, so I speed up. It's almost my last slide. This is just a keynote I gave for the MIT Technology Review Startup Conference in France, in Toulouse. And it just, it's somehow network thinking is inspiring for people, for tech entrepreneurs. It's inspiring for people beyond technology. So it would be fantastic if you joined this network thinking Train the Trainer program. What it does, it basically links innovation, entrepreneurship, strategy, and leadership into a simple training module. And we want to spread it through a professional, license-based program. And build up a community of people who are able to provide high quality certified workshops. We have partnered already with Ian, Ryan, and Laurie, who are with us today. So we are developing and this product, and we want to expand, and we want you to join our community. So if you do, we hope that we will become that we will do what we preach. So we will become a vibrant network, a business-based Our business model will be based on the network principle, and I will be very happy to discuss with you in more detail how we think this will work. And there are basically two options how to engage with us today. Either we would like to enter in a relationship with larger organizations and have a train-the-trainer program inside the organization, or we're looking for small companies, like here you see on the picture, the guys from Naked Innovations, and grow like this, grow organically by partnering with people who are fun to work with, who share our values, and who want to make more impact. Now, Evelina, I think it's time for questions, isn't it? Go ahead. So, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. And while I let you type them, I will just say that at this slide, it's a timeline. This is what happened last year, where network thinking as a training program was actually born. What you see here are in the. I'm waiting for your questions, so please think about the questions and write them down. In the spring, I was presenting the book in Madrid in the Kotek Foundation for Innovation, and later in Dubai at the Arab Innovation Summit. And also I was contemplating opening the Innovation Lab here in Barcelona. But really the kind of push towards creativity came with the EIT Startup Days in March. So that we basically inspired me and my team to think about how to help the EIT alumni make real impact in Barcelona. So here you see the masterclass. Here you see the director of the Port of Badalona. You see the PhD students who took part in the retreat. Then on the bottom in the summer, I published the network thinking growth model as a basis for Spain, innovation, entrepreneurship, and network thinking as a model for Spain. I took part in a few big events, sharing the network thinking ideas and values and processes. And you see also here one of the keynotes at the BioCat annual conference, where I had the pleasure of giving my book to the president of Catalonia. And at the winter, you see a little photo with La Fura dels Baus. I'm waiting for your questions. They're writing questions? Super. Okay. And with La Fura dels Baus, it happened so that they also opened an innovation lab in Badalona. La Fura is the world-famous avant-garde art performance group, and we want to partner with them to help transform cities into innovation districts. And at the last photo you see on the screen is the meeting with the president of the city of Łódź, which is an industrial city in the heart of Poland. I had a seminar in Łódź last week at the technology transfer of the medical university, and we discussed how to transform city. So I'm moving now to the question and answer mode.
So there is a question from Joanne.
Okay.
I don't know if you can read it.
So let me just read it. Let me just read it loud. Joanne. Hello, Joanne. If you ask any manager nowadays if they think from a network perspective, almost everyone will answer yes. How do you make a case for the need to address this topic in such a specific way as you do, how you do? Differentiate. Juan, I believe that every manager will say, no, let me say it a different way. One of my daughters studies information management. She will be an engineer and then with a business profile. And I ask her, what do they teach you in this management course? And she says, Mom, everything they say, it's obvious. The problem is that I cannot think about it myself. And I would say that with managers, it's a little bit similar, that once you tell them this, it's obvious. But would they know how to do it in a strategic, systematic way to grow their business? I would doubt. Let me give you an example. One of companies asked me to help them rethink their network management, sales network management strategy through the network thinking perspective. They have 4,000 agents selling their products. And while the company calls these agents a network, they are not a network in the sense that they could, that their business model of this company could be based on network, because these people compete rather than collaborate. And we want to have a program to help those independent sales agents become a community, so that they do not only compete, but they first of all collaborate and become one organism. I hope it answers. Let me take another question. So Amala, I have to leave session. Thank you, Amala, very much. Now, Veronica, if I live far from Barcelona in Belarus, can I come to your training? Is it possible to use network thinking in my country? Absolutely. I think we will go city by city globally. But for the moment, we are in Barcelona, and to become associated with us, you would need to come to Barcelona at least for 2 days to go through a training with me directly. But then I believe that through this first batch of people who will go through the training directly with me, some of them will become trainers. And then I hope one day there will be many trainers in Belarus who will be able to spread the methodology. But for the moment, I warmly invite to Barcelona. Another Carl, a very good concept, but I think a little openness is a prerequisite. Would be good to consider how the concept can be extended to industries that are very close, such as manufacturing. Carl, thank you very much for this question, because I know that there is quite many people from the manufacturing sector participating in the webinar. Manufacturing is very engineering culture, and I think that the program that we want will be highly customized, meaning that the way our approach to training as to learning to become with the assistance of coaches or trainers who understand the methodology will be a way to adjust not only the content during the training itself, meaning the cases we work on and specific industry-related networks that we work on, but also later the process of helping an engineer or a scientist, embrace the stuff that usually they think that this soft stuff is not very important. The higher they go, they realize that technology is actually easy to manage. People are much more difficult to manage. So I believe definitely yes. I think our approach is highly customized. I think both in terms of content, but also in terms of the approach to learning as learning to become. And then we have Uri Ben question. I understand, Ben, that you're in Israel. I would like to discuss potential consulting in a city in Israel, developing innovation hub to discuss it. Absolutely, Uri, with pleasure. Israel is absolutely a for any innovation activity. So this is super fun and super interesting that you're inviting us to Israel. We'll surely be happy to come. And I see one more question coming from Jordanis. Now, while I'm waiting I'm getting messages from, we're getting messages from other people. Thank you very much. So I would like to say what will be the next steps. We have recorded this webinar, so it will be available, shared on our Network Thinking Center YouTube channel. I would like you to let us know what you think of this opportunity. We would really like to get in contact with a bunch of people, with early adopters in terms of organizations, companies, or networks who would like to use our methodology to help them grow. And this can be done best by writing to us at studio@tatainnovation.com. If you're following us on social media, we will be delighted to follow you back. What should I say at the end? It's been fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'm open to collaboration. And I would love that you go and join us for one of the upcoming sessions in Barcelona. Have a good evening.
No,
Bye-bye.
There's a question.
There's a question. Okay, the questions are coming.
Network thinking is indeed.
Okay, one last question. Jordanis, network thinking is a global need. However, networks pretty much depend on sector, thematic here. Do you experience in biomedical sector? Personally, I have never worked in biomedical sector, but I was asked by two biomedical clusters, one in Vienna, one in Barcelona, to share with them the approach to growth through network thinking. While I'm able to share the general framework, I think we need partners with the sector-specific knowledge to customize the content for their clients in a given sector. So I have wonderful thanks from the city of Łódź, from Ian, from Justyna, Monica, Francisca. Thank you all very, very much. I wish I could also see you as well. So be with us, follow us.
India, we are.
We are in India, in Chile. Wow! Fantastic. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Let's network think together.